Good morning, Eat, Move, Live 52 friends. I'm tuning in to share with you a few ways that you can work and feel better in your body at the same time. So many of our students right now have written in and shared that their homes are really not a place of solitude where they can get work done. And my heart goes out to you. This is a time where we need to be flexible and we need to adapt. And all the rules you know about good alignment, all the rules you know about how to position yourself in your body are going to come really handy right now. Because honestly, if you can feel yourself in your body and if you know how to position your body, it becomes so much easier to work dynamically, literally from everywhere. So there's an ideal setup for your work, and maybe you've already found it. Maybe you have a designated home office. That's great. But the students who have written in don't really have that. So they're having to take their laptops all over the house and adapt in some way to an environment that's not always ideal. So the guiding principles aren't where's the best counter space where I can put my adapted stand-up desk so that my screen can be at ideal eye level. Now the criteria is something like, where do I have quiet, where I can be alone for a little bit and get some work done. And I'm not going to be showing you how to do this in your bathroom or in your shower, but we're going to use a little kind of makeshift sit-down space. So you can do this with a bed, you can do this with a low stool, you can do it with a low table. If you have a low desk like this, you can do it with your low desk. You could also make something. You could use a box, a storage container. You can use books that you can pile up to create something that's high enough where you can just put your laptop on that. And then I'm gonna play with you a little bit to show you how you can position your body differently and create a little bit more variety in your sitting so that you can be there with ease and you don't feel stiff or kinked or kind of in a weird space where you can't focus. So I hope that you can see well enough if I need to move something that well. So the first thing is figure out what you're going to put your laptop on. So as I said already, you might have something like we have a bunch of these lower desks around the house, but you can also use a storage container. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. So once you figure that out, just stick your computer on it. And now let's figure out the height so that when you're sitting, first sit in your most comfortable way that you like to sit. So if you're somebody who sits on the floor a lot, it might be enough to just have a cushion and just sit and find, I'm just gonna push this away, hopefully it doesn't make a horrible noise, there we go, and find a way that your pelvis can be onto your sacrum. You're not too far tipped forward into an anterior tilt. Just find that place. I'm gonna take you through a little practice how to do it in a moment. But once you have that, now the next thing to do is to figure out where is comfortable screen height. And the trippy thing with laptops is they're built in a way that, like, if things were ideal, the monitor would actually be up here. I don't know if somebody's actually come up with something that you can raise up and down, like sort of a telescoping screen that goes up. But so once you have this, let's find where the most comfortable place is for you to have the height. This is where you can pull out some cookbooks, and you can use them not for cooking, but for, building. So let's see if we can have Edward Lee and Kenji Lopez Alt support us here. So this is actually quite decent. So if you don't have to do a lot of writing, so writing is nice kind of at this level. You don't want to be too raised up. You kind of want your forearms to be as parallel to the floor as possible so that your shoulder blades are comfortable. If you don't have too much writing to do, if you're just reading, scrolling on social media, if you're having Zoom conferencing, I do a ton of my work on Zoom. I can actually lift this. Here's Christopher Kimball. So you can use all the authors you love. If you're just talking, get the screen so it's comfortable and so that you don't have to do anything funky with your head. But if you have typing to do, you can see how this isn't going to work. So, cookbooks go back on the floor. Also some nice strength exercise because they're so heavy. Cookbooks go back on the floor, and then you find where would you be comfortable typing, right? Can you get as close to that forearms parallel to the floor place as you can? We're actually lucky that this desk has a little bit of an incline, so I can kind of sit back and I can just use the incline of the desk. But you could also create your own incline by tipping a little bit the top of your laptop so that the front of your keyboard is closer to you. Also a possibility. Now, if you're someone who has an external keyboard, cookbooks come back, screen goes up, and then your external keyboard is on the front. I know that external keyboards aren't very expensive, so maybe that might be a time that you could actually afford to do that. Roland has a really fancy external keyboard set up in his office, and he might be tuning in the next couple of days to show you how that works. But this kind of makeshift, do it anywhere, can work really well. So once you have this set up, let's now work a little bit with your body. So I'm going to actually bring myself back. So one of the things that few people think about is that varying what you sit on is going to greatly change how your hips feel. If you sit on something lower and your knees are at the hip level or higher than hip level, then there's quite a bit more tension here in your groin area. There's a lot more happening in the psoas, iliacus, low back. You can think of it as like an accordion, like everything has to go into a smaller space. But if you can sit on something higher and you can drop your knees below the hips, it can actually be more relaxing. So all you might need to do is figure out, do I have a higher pillow or a higher bolster that I can sit on? If not all the time, then maybe a part of the time, can I do some of my sitting higher? Can I do some of my sitting lower? So that's a very easy variation. Can I do some of my sitting directly on the floor? And if you have the kind of flexibility that allows that, that would be amazing. So think of it this way, just varying the thickness of what you're sitting on is a massive shift in how you're going to feel and how you're going to geometrically position all your different body parts. Now, we all have a habitual way that we like to sit. So here's my two. If you come into a floor space that I'm sitting on at any time during the day, you're going to either see me with my right leg in front of the left, or right leg up in flexion and the left open, probably out here or here. And so notice what your habitual position is and see if you can switch that around. So if I'm always sitting habitually with my right foot in front, can I switch? And can I, even though it might feel a little weird at first, can I switch that and see if I can find just the opposite of that? If I always have my right hip flexed, can I have the left one? And can I let my right leg be straight out? So you can play with that in your body, just knowing how you normally sit. Just do the opposite of that. Then cycle through a few ways that you like to sit. How do I like to sit? Do I like to sit cross-legged? Do I like to sit sole to sole? Do I like to sit with my legs out in a V? Do I like to sit with my legs in a kind of an 11 position? And if you have a desk that has a little space under, you could do that. If you're using a box, then you might have to go to the sides of the box. So your 11 will be a little bit more like a tiny V. Do I want to play with bringing one leg in and one out, one in, one out? And then can I also use this cushion as a way to bring my legs to the side? So I'm going to switch cushions just for color. It's kind of hard to see. But you could also use your cushion to bend your legs, bring them to the side, bring your lower legs out, and then you can go the other way around. Is it the most comfortable? No, but you can vary for a little bit so that you can sit a little better. You can also sit back, kind of in the kneeling position that many of us do meditation in. So you're sort of like so. And if there's some knee issues and it's hard for you to bend your knees that much, you could place something, a blanket or a pillow behind to sit on. You can also sit on a yoga block or another prop, like even like a thick bolster like this, and just kind of sit on top of it and let your pelvis be supported. Your legs will be out to the side. Now, this isn't something that you want to figure out once you're working. You want to have a formal time when you can play with this. Find your top 4 or 5 and just do those. You don't want to be figuring this out during your work time. So if you have found out that it's really comfortable to sit here, or you have found that it's really comfortable to kind of sit sideways and drop your legs to the side, then figure that out before you start working. But I suggest you have probably 4 of these, write them on a sticky, put them on your box or desk or whatever you figured out, and see if that's helpful. Now, something that many people forget is that you can actually use a low squat. If you have enough flexibility, you can raise your heels, or don't raise them if you have a ton of flexibility. You can use a low squat to work. If you're on a web kind of conferencing, Zoomy kind of thing, you can raise your screen. So actually people can't see your knees, so you can see kind of chest up. So you can totally do that. And if you're really feeling in the mood for a kind of a deep squat position, you also have options to bring the leg out. You could bring the leg out and just hang out here. You could bring a leg out and just hang out. Absolutely not. But it's still variety, and it's still really, really nice to have that option. Now, many people don't think about kneeling positions because, well, some people have a lot of tenderness in the knees, or they just haven't kind of thought of it. It's something you can build up to over time. So you can use a softer thing like this bolster or your carpet to just come up in parallel kneeling. That will require a lot of lifting of your screen. So this might work really well like if you're using a bed with a box on top of it, or you're using like a regular height kitchen table. So you can do kneeling, which is like double kneeling, or you can use half kneeling, kind of in a lunge position, and you can work here too. The reason I love this so much, and of course, you know, we'll be lifting this way up if we were using this, is that it really allows you to open the front of the hip. A lot of the sitting positions, you know, as dynamic and wonderful as they are, they're still very closed in. So you can totally do a half kneeling if your body allows that, even for a little bit, I'm not going to go into all the kind of exercise almost positions that you could take because we're looking here for positions in which you can focus, in which you can talk. But you know, sky is the limit. If you were feeling really like you wanted to also challenge your body, you know, you could balance and watch a webinar. You can do whatever you like, really be very, very creative. But again, my encouragement to you is find about 4 that feel different, that feel good, put them on your desk and just kind of cycle through them so that you can practice. Now, it's really, really important that you take time to move. So in between changing the sitting positions, you can also take some time to check in your alignment, relax your sternum so that your rib cage can open when you breathe. Find that your pelvis is neutral. Find that your shoulder blades have space to move, they're not pinched back. And just float your head on top of your shoulders so that it's a little bit more comfortable to just be here. And ask yourself as you're working, so I'm typing away on my computer and I'm asking myself, how am I holding myself right now? Can I be here with a little more ease? Can I just let my pelvis really land on the cushion? Can I really let my rib cage be effortlessly relaxed on top of my pelvis so that my breath can go into a softening belly and I'm not tight like a rod? Can I allow my head to float back? Can I relax my shoulders? Can I relax my jaw? Can I open my gaze to the horizon behind my computer? And you can do this a few times a day and find less tension as you are working. So a lot of us are doing a lot of Zoom conferencing, a lot of work on these small tiny screens, and that, as I've taught before, increases the sympathetic fight or flight charge in the body. So you want to relax your eyes, you want to relax your vision so that you can see more softly, and you can relax your shoulders, you can relax your rib cage, and just make sure that your skeleton is what is supporting you, and you're not having to use your muscles to muscle yourself into support. This is really, really important. Now, breath is always going to be a good guide of where you are. If you're feeling like your breath is really shallow, or you're having to take a lot of these big sighs, then make sure that you do something throughout the day to open the side line of the body, open the back line of the body. You can do simple things like a sitting cat, like a sitting crescent stretch. You can work with, here I'm on a Zoom call and I'm paying attention, and I can still hold on to my knees, and I can still do a couple of circles and open the back body. So you don't have to be super focused, you don't have to always be just staring and paying attention, because there's this thing with computers where we're there with other people and the camera is looking at us, so we have a sense like those other people are also looking at you. But if we were in a room, you'd be moving your gaze to something moving, to something outside. So allow your eyes to move around the space where you are. Allow your head and neck to move around the space where you are. Look above your computer. You don't have to be super focused. And you can actually, if you are in a position to discuss this with the people on Zoom calls or Skype calls, you can say, hey, let's just take some time to be able to look around and be able to relax our bodies while we work. This is a stressful time for many of us. So maybe your coworkers will kind of appreciate that you don't have to stare at them. So to sum up, you can make a sit-down desk out of anything. Use books to elevate the screen so it's comfortable. If you have to type, get your forearms to be more parallel, shoulders relaxed. Make sure you are at the base of your pelvis. Drop back onto your sacrum. Move forward onto the front part of your pelvis so that you can find that in-between place that is neutral, that allows your spine to really be balanced on top of the pelvis, for the head to float on top of the rib cage, and for all of it to be in one nice, beautiful line. And then from there, vary your leg position in a way that you are comfortable with. It's not going to work for you to go in a low squat and sit here on your Zoom call if this is not a comfortable position for you. You need to have, either like me, grown up with it or trained into it so that you get used to it. It's not a benefit to be learning these moves as you work. It's better to go to what works for me. How high of a bolster do I need? Can I vary my bolster height and really be happy with, where I cross my legs? Maybe I just cross them the other way than I habitually cross them. Maybe I open one out. Maybe I open both of them out. And here's where you don't need to work for symmetry. So many people are like, but I don't have space to do a symmetrical V. Well, then do half a V. Your body doesn't care that things are symmetrical. Your body cares that we get movement because we're full of tissues that are requiring movement to function and to regenerate. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy at all. It has to be what you're comfortable with, but you have to vary it. So come up with 4, stick them up on your desk or your makeshift desk, and just start working, start playing with that. And then anything can be your desk. Then maybe if your kids took your office so they can do their homeschooling, now your bedroom can become your office. Bed is, low enough for something like this, or if you have a high bed, you can play with some of the kneeling positions. So whatever you come up with, remember that it's yours, this is your body, you're in full control to help your body be more dynamic, more open, more pliable. And if you're not feeling comfortable, there's something that you can do. There's always something that you can do. And Roland and I help a lot of people just kind of come up with ideas to set up their home workspaces so that they have more variety. I hope that he chimes in to show you. He has a chair that goes up and down to adjust for more of a standing workstation option if you already have that set up in your office. So maybe you'll see him in the next couple of days teaching something similar. So I hope that that was useful. I hope that you have a couple of different pillow options and something to create a sitting desk with. And use your cookbooks. What better time to use your cookbooks to build stuff with? Thank you guys. I appreciate you so much. And post your questions below in the comments. We want to answer them. It's easy for me to shoot a video and answer any questions that you might have. Work happy, work dynamic, and may the quiet spaces you find in your homes work for you. I worked in the backyard the other day for a while, and it was wonderful. And I had a sit-down desk in the backyard for quite a bit last August when we had some visitors because I needed some private space. So you can use lots of different spaces. Sky is the limit. Thank you so much. Have a great, great Sunday.